안녕하세요. 인사이트 코리아입니다. 하버드 대학교의 교수가 과거 페어뱅크 중국 연구센터에서 강의 도중 한국에 대해 흥미로운 설명을 해나가는 일이 있었습니다. 강의자이자 아시아 관계학 전문가인 베스타 교수는 한국이라는 나라가 일본과도 중국과도 달랐기 때문에 아시아 대전에서 살아남았으며 아주 오래전부터 한반도의 한국인들이 지녀온 놀라운 특징 때문에 국난을 극복하는 능력을 지닐 수 있었다고 바라봤는데요. 우선 해당 강의 주제는 제국과 의로운 국가로 역사 속 한국과 중국의 관계를 다뤘습니다. 여기서 제국은 중국을, 의로운 국가는 한국을 지칭하고 있는데요. 유독 베스타 교수에게 한국이 흥미로운 이유는 무엇이며 과연 한국이 역사적으로 의로운 국가라는 것은 무슨 뜻일까요? 해당 강의 내용 지금부터 소개해드리겠습니다.
In the overall title for these lectures, Empire and Righteous Nation, there are three concepts: Empire, Nation, and Righteous. Righteous, of course, refers to Korea, but it doesn't mean that all Koreans are righteous, or even that the Korean state at any point or in any form has been a righteous state. It's there to indicate that the search for a righteous approach to domestic and international affairs has preoccupied many generations of Koreans very much. To speak about Korea, and especially pre-20th century Korea, as a nation, historians have been discussing this for a very long time. Some of us have tried to elude this question by simply pointing to the great coherence in cultural and linguistic terms of people who live on the Korean peninsula. And of course this is a process that does go back a very long time, at least 3,000 years. In linguistic terms, modern Korean derives from Middle Korean, which in turn derives from, you guessed it, Old Korean, which has its roots, linguists believe, in some form of Proto-Korean. So not much change there. Actually, great change in terms of language, but not much change in terms of an overall departure. So there is something that's been going on for a very long time here that one needs to think about. China is not like that. Japan also is not like that, or at least not quite in the same way. So in this sense, within its own region, Korea is quite unique. But of course, looking at it this way is a typical historian's cop-out, right? You say that something exists because it's always existed and that you can't quite describe what it is. So I'll try to get a little bit closer to the issue than that. The point is, of course, that not everything that is distinct becomes a nation in any meaningful sense of the term. Or certainly not a nation before historians started inventing nations in Europe in the 19th century.
영어로 nation, 한국어로는 주로 국가라고 번역되는 이 단어는 사실 베스타 교수의 말대로 무척 모호한 개념을 가지고 있습니다. 비슷하게 국가를 뜻하는 단어 중에서도 정치적인 개념 혹은 행정구역으로서 의미가 강한 스테이트, 컨트리와는 조금 다르죠. 네이션의 경우 국가의 개념 안에 역사, 문화, 언어, 영토 등을 공유하는 개념까지 함께 지니고 있기 때문입니다. 여기서 베스타 교수는 한국의 특징이 무척이나 놀랍다고 한 것인데요. 특히나 서구권에서 역사가들에 의해 국가라는 개념이 탄생하고 직접적으로 선언되기 전부터 한국의 역사는 이미 아주 오랜 기간 이어져온 네이션으로 볼 수 있다는 것입니다. 한반도의 한국인들은 한국인으로서 살아오며 국가이자 민족이자 공동체로서 한국을 유지해왔고 또 그 후세들도 조상의 어를 계승해왔기 때문입니다.
It's about defining who is out, who the nation, who does not belong with the nation. But this is about Europe. So what then about East Asia and what about Korea? Now there are people who argue that Korean concepts of nation is something that go far back in time. Not using the term nation, not necessarily using principles of exclusion, but more in the form that Anthony Smith, my former colleague at LSE, defined nation as a group sharing a historic territory, common myths and historical memories. If that is true, overall as a definition, then Korea, I think, for quite some time falls into that definition, and perhaps further back than Europe in the 19th century. It is quite possible, it is quite meaningful, at least to me, to think of the form of cohesion that people living on the Korean peninsula had created amongst themselves prior to the European influences in intellectual terms, political terms of the 19th century, as some form of nation.
이렇듯 베스타 교수는 국민들 간의 응집력을 한국이 긴 역사 속에서 하나의 국가로 이어질 수 있었던 이유이자 특징으로 바라봤는데요. 동시에 그는 이 응집력이야말로 일본과 중국의 정권이 무너지고 교체되는 동안 한국이 살아남을 수 있었던 이유일지 모른다고 조명했습니다. 그리고 그 배경에는 몇 세대에 걸쳐 의의를 고수하는 한국인들의 집착이 있었다고 합니다.
And then finally, the third concept, righteous. So, I in Chinese, or we in Korean, the way in which it has been used is perhaps especially in the form of concepts of moral fitness. As you will know, essential parts of the Neo-Confucian creed coming out of China about 1,000 years ago, and taken up especially in Korea. This Neo-Confucian concept of righteousness is something that has inspired generation after generation of Koreans in order to define the content of their own state. And that goes beyond just the issue of who we are in a kind of ethnic sense. We're sometimes attacked by the Chinese for this, and it is interesting how this character has become a slogan for various Korean political projects over a period at least of the 600 years. So the Popular Army in the operation against the Japanese invasions in the 1580s called themselves the Righteous Army, or Uibyeong. And you will find it in the resistance against Japan in the 20th century, and you find it in numerous political upheavals in South Korea towards the end of the 20th century. So it is a significant concept. Now, in terms of breaking points, there is probably no more important breaking point than the late 14th century. First, the Ming Empire in the 1360s, and then the Joseon Empire or state in Korea in the 1380s and 1390s. But if the Ming was a great project, Joseon in Korea was even more of a project, was even more of a break with the past and an attempt to put something new in its place. It was not an entire break with Korea's past. It built on Korea's past to quite some extent. It was nothing less than the remaking of Korean society according to the principles of Neo-Confucianism. In a very authoritarian form, led by the elites, very, very hierarchical, but crucially, and this is what is different from almost any other Neo-Confucian projects across East Asia, and there were many of them, based on the voluntary or involuntary participation of almost everyone within Korean society. And that was, I think, because it turned out to be a very successful project, that's what gave it such deep roots. Of course, there were groups that were excluded from any concept of Confucian rectitude. Korea was a caste system, it was a slave-holding system, but among the people who had some form of franchise in terms of participation, this was expected to be universal. So I said that this was a successful project. And I do believe that it really was, because it was able to imprint itself so deeply on the population that it ruled. And it was successful also in another sense. It created a state that had a great deal of capacity in various forms. And this is something that's often forgotten when we talk about Korea during these years, mainly its relationship with the Ming and Qing empires. One tends to forget the ability of Korean rulers to cling on to power, to have a successful state that continued for a very long period of time. Socially unjust and with enormous problems in terms of innovation. The best example, I think, of its successfulness was that it survived the biggest challenge of its time, which was the Great East Asian Wars of the late 16th and early 17th century. First with the Japanese attempt under Toyotomi Hideyoshi at taking over Korea and possibly also having in mind taking over at least significant parts of Ming China, and then Qing attempts at controlling Korea in the 1620s and the 1630s. For a region that saw itself as a world, quite rightly, this was a world war. And it was an enormously testing experience for all the polities that were involved. Two of them didn't survive. And surprisingly enough, the one who did was Korea, was Joseon Korea. Ming collapsed, the Hideyoshi experiment went nowhere, ended in tears and defeat. Joseon was the one that survived. And that says something about the internal cohesion that was there. The ability to survive disasters when inflicted on the country. Possibly also because the concept of state was slightly different. Maybe for the very reason that Korea was not an empire. Was it possible to get some kind of continuity beyond this?
한국은 무척이나 험난한 역사를 겪어온 만큼 외부 세력의 침략과 간섭으로 얼룩진 과거를 품게 되었는데요. 그럼에도 계속해서 뭉치는 한국인들의 응집력은 베스타 교수의 말대로 나라가 어떤 형태로든 생존해 나가도록 만들었고 의병을 꾸리며 저항하게 만들었고 국난을 극복하고 살아남게 만들었습니다. 또한 해당 강의에서는 중국의 간섭이 있던 시절에도 사실 조선은 완전히 주권을 넘기지 않았으며 일정 선 이상 내정에 침범하지 못하도록 독립성을 유지하려 했던 조선의 저항을 조명하기도 했는데요. 긴 역사가 지나고 팬데믹으로 또 다른 힘겨움을 겪는 2020년. 대동단결하여 국난을 극복하는 한국인의 얼은 아직도 한국에 이어지고 있는 듯 싶습니다. 지금까지 인사이트 코리아였습니다. 감사합니다.